First, let's start with this case. My 37F wife and I, 36M, have always tried to keep the housework pretty evenly split between us. I, for example, mow the lawn and do laundry and dishes, and she meal plans, cooks, and picks up drops off the kids. Lately, this has all changed because she has become addicted to a game called Dress to Impress on Roblox. If you aren't familiar, it's a game where you have to dress your character in a themed outfit before the time runs out, and the other players rate it from 1 to 5 stars. It started off harmless, just a fun thing she would do during downtime before bed. But recently she has missed crucial appointments and chores because of this game. I tried to be understanding and gently remind her to do her tasks, but she would always say she forgot or got distracted. The big argument happened last night when she forgot to pick up our 9-year-old son from basketball practice, which ended at 6. I hadn't gotten home yet as I had to work late, and our son doesn't have a phone, so I had no way of knowing the situation. I eventually got home around 7 and realized he was not in his room. I looked around further and saw that he was nowhere to be found. I walked into our bedroom, confused, to ask my wife where he was and found her on her iPad playing the game as always. When I asked her where our son was, her eyes grew wide, and I knew what happened without her having to say. I immediately got back into my car and went to pick him up. Luckily, his coach had stayed after to make sure he was picked up safe, and I apologized profusely. Apparently, he had been calling and texting my wife, who was the emergency contact, and she didn't even notice. When we got home, I immediately blew up at her. How could she be so addicted to a kid's game that she completely forgot our son? Now, she's telling me it was a one-time thing and that I'm an idiot for getting angry. I don't know what to think. I do kind of understand her side of the story as it has only happened one time, but she has to be a responsible parent. She can't just completely forget about our child who has no way to get home on his own. So, am I in the wrong? Let's start judging. Is this real? She needs therapy if she is so addicted to a silly kids game with avatars that she is forgetting her own real child. This is a scary and serious event for your kid. And okay, maybe losing track of time but missing the calls and texts too? That's insane. You're not in the wrong. Hope your kid is okay. He probably felt so scared and abandoned. You're not in the wrong. We all make mistakes, even with our children. But her pattern of behavior means you were 100% correct to call it out. Hopefully she sees this incident as a wake-up call. Helping and supporting her are really important. She made a mistake. Don't make another one by holding it over her head. Forgetting your child, oh my God. I am a mom and I am a gamer. And I think I fit the category of gaming a bit much at times. But never have I forgotten my child. I am way too anxious for that. To be sure, I have alarms set, but several times I forget to set it and I never forgot. Somehow an hour before end school, my nerves already start kicking in for that. And to be fair, if that ever would happen, it will be the day I stop gaming. So no, you're not in the wrong. Next up, my late 30s, youngest sister, early 30s, is pregnant with her first child. The family is thrilled for her as she and her partner have been trying for a long time to get pregnant. When she announced it, she mentioned that she was having a baby shower, and my sister and I offered to help out where we can. For some reason, she took that as my brother said he would pay for the baby shower, and drafted a guest list of 120 people. I decided to text her one day and ask her what her budget was, and I heard nothing for at least a day. My other sister and my mom mentioned that I had said to her that I would pay for the whole thing. That was never something I had offered to do. She never addressed it with me directly, and said that she and her partner would pay for everything. I took charge of creating the evite, registration site, driving an hour away to book the hall and put a deposit down, offered to do the centerpieces, pay for the stroller, driving back to the hall to add extra time to the reservation because their archaic system doesn't allow people to book online, agree to pick up food on the day of, answer every inquiry from her guests who've registered in the system. My husband offered to help out with the games for the shower. We saw my sister last week, and she texted me on Monday saying, "If he doesn't want to do the games, then tell me so I can give it to someone else." I finally messaged back and said that I thought her message was a little harsh, and if she was trying to imply something, that she should just say it out loud. She then responded by saying, "Fine. I'm disappointed by how much work you've put into this shower." That's when I lost it. I was objective and listed everything I had contributed so far. I also pointed out that I had never agreed to pay for a baby shower with 120 guests. I don't know much about them, but I assumed they were intimate events in someone's home and not something the size of a wedding. I had less people at my own wedding. In addition to this, she complains about other people in her life to my mom and sister about how no one is pitching in. She asked my mom what she was contributing to the shower. My 70-year-old retired mother was taken aback by that comment and offered to cook food for 120 people. She's been so ungrateful throughout this entire process and has since uninvited me to her shower and sarcastically said, "Enjoy your 40th," and removed me from my sibling group chat. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. She sounds toxic and unhinged. You did more than most people would do. Nobody needs 120 people at a baby shower or a hall for it. Your sister is greedy and attention-seeking. Hopefully, pregnancy has just caused temporary insanity. Create an alternative sibling group chat without her. Explain what happened to your mother and siblings. Support your mom if you can, but not at the expense of your mental health. Enjoy your 40th, and don't sweat missing the baby shower. When she comes crawling back, listen and decide whether her apology is enough. You're not in the wrong. When people offer to help with a baby shower, they're intending on bringing some food, making invitations, some decorating, maybe some games planning. They're certainly not offering to pay for an obnoxious event. There's no way your sister actually thought that. Baby showers are not large events. They never have been. They are at most 30-40 people at someone's house. And even that is a ridiculous number. Your sister is taking advantage of you. She is being entirely unreasonable. 120 people at a baby shower? Every life event is way over the top now. When I had mine, 20 years ago, it was at a friend's house with about 10 guests. We had snacks and a cake. I got some nice gifts, but nothing crazy because I would never expect friends or even family, to be honest, to shell out loads of money for my child. Can't we go back to doing simple things? Next up, I love my son, but he is a total jackass. He won't pull himself together and grow up, even though he's an adult. He was supposed to start college last year, but said he'd do it the next year, and he's still at home sitting on the couch, contributing nothing to the house. All he does is hang out with his druggy friends and smoke weed and drink beer and trash the remains on our porch. He already has a prior criminal history for underage drinking, but he didn't do time, and I didn't pay bail. I told him if he continues spending all this time wasting his life, then he's going down the wrong path. But he never listens. Like I told him, he got arrested the other day for disorderly conduct, for doing substances in a public park, possession of drugs, underage drinking, and loitering. And he was an idiot to the cop. So instead of getting let out, they put him on bail. I always planned on paying his bail, but instead of doing it immediately when he called, I told him he had to wait and see what it's like to live like a criminal. He got angry and accused me of favoritism because I paid my other son's bail on his second arrest. But my other son was arrested for a nonsense charge that everyone has and didn't have a pattern of unlawful behavior. My wife thinks we should pay the bail, and I'm an idiot to leave him in prison for the next 3 days. But I'm honestly fed up with my son and think he needs to experience the consequences of his actions without me bailing him out all the time. Am I in the wrong? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. And if I were in your shoes, I would consider not paying at all. He's an adult. His problems are his own. At this point, it sounds like he used to being enabled. You have 2 kids with records, so common that there is a pattern for paying bail. Believe it or not, many of us don't have the nonsense charge you claim is so common. What kind of environment are you raising them in? You're in the wrong for enabling this behavior. Not paying bail for either of them would have been better. You're in the wrong. You are not showing favoritism towards your other son, but you also don't sound like you've done anything to help this son. OP, it's very clear your son is an addict and has been since he was a minor. He needs treatment and therapy. and it doesn't sound like you're getting him the treatment he needs. Have you even talked to him about what could have caused his drinking and drug problems? If you really cared about him, you would help him get better and get to the bottom of his addiction. Expect him to do it on his own, because he's legally an adult. First of your son was supposed to start college last year. That means he's 19 or 20, right? He's still in the process of fully becoming an adult. If you're one of those people who believes that you just magically become this super responsible adult that can take care of themselves when they turn 18, you're extremely ignorant. And just because your son is a legal adult doesn't mean no one should help him. No one is in the wrong. Personally, I agree with your approach. Your wife isn't an idiot for disagreeing, it's just a different opinion. And maybe she has good reasons. Like, if you live in a dystopia without pandemic controls, maybe her concern is that he's going to catch COVID in jail, then come home and spread it to you. Although if that were the case, then she presumably wouldn't let him in the house after hanging out with fellow junkies, either. Regarding your other son's nonsense charge that everyone has, you realize not everyone gets arrested, right? Even the US, which is the most punitive country in the world, only around half the population has been arrested. Your point stands, though, that it was a different situation from your currently incarcerated son. Next up, for the past 8 years, I, 32M, have been paying my parents' property taxes and mortgage. They are retired and have very little retirement savings because they put all their money into my sister, 29F, and I's education. We both went to top universities and found successful jobs afterwards. I felt like I owed my parents for all they sacrificed for me, so it was a no-brainer to help them retire with no financial stress. My parents did not consult my sister about splitting these costs with me. Instead, the agreement was that I would get a larger share of the house. Fast forward to now, my sister unfortunately lost her job last year, and as a result, doesn't have much savings. She moved in with my parents to save money while she looks for a job. I recently found out that my sister pitched staying permanently in my parents' house, and my parents agreed. I was furious at this because I had been paying for the house with the understanding that it would be sold and I would get a larger share. It is very likely my sister never sells the house and instead raises her eventual family there. Because the original agreement with my parents changed, I stopped paying for the mortgage, leaving it up to my sister to take care of if she's taking over the house. My parents are furious with me, saying I'm too money-obsessed and should be continuing to help the family while my sister is in a tough spot still looking for a job. Instead, they are promising that eventually my sister will pay me out for my share of the house, plus whatever else I contributed over 8 years. I turned that offer down because there's no real guarantee this will happen, and I don't trust my sister to follow through financially. I may be the idiot for taking such a cynical stance and leaving my family in financial stress, but I feel like I was already burned once through verbal agreements, and I don't want to get burned again. Am I in the wrong? Edit. My sister is fully opposed to selling the house because of the sentimental value. I'm not on the deed because when you put someone else on the deed in CA, your house is reassessed and it will double our current property tax. There are also some implications to my parents' Social Security payments if I do so. I wish I got something in writing, but I felt like an idiot asking for something like that from my family. It was naive of me to think that way. Let's start judging. 8 years is a long time to be paying a mortgage with only a verbal agreement. Even if you were on great terms, always get things in writing. You could cut your losses here. It is unlikely you'll see your money back. If the house is big enough for sister and potential future family to live in, why didn't parents sell and downsize if it's just the two of them? They need to anyway if you cut them off. You're not in the wrong. Don't do it. Stop paying now. As someone who was suckered into this exact position 20 years ago, I now have nothing to show for it. First it was, oh, they will just be staying for a few months. Then, oh, it's just a few more months. 20 years is what those few months turned into. My name is on the deed. I get no benefit from it, just a bunch of headaches. Get lawyers involved, show the proof of what you've been paying for however many years. Get yourself sorted and paper trails. If they want to live in a place you are paying for, get a tenancy agreement and charge market rate rent, because my family tenants are paying $75 per week. The other units like mine are rented out at $600 per W. When I mentioned that I was told, you wouldn't do that to family, would you? And, oh, stop acting so selfish, money isn't everything. Please, please be careful. With family, I found that they were staying there because they needed it. And it's just a small favor. And everyone's favorite, it's just till they get back on their feet. They living the life of Riley on your dime. And let's not forget when shiz goes wrong in the place, suddenly it'll be, but you're the landlord, and paying for everything anyway. And trust me, you will end up paying for things that need to be fixed. And of course, it's you who will foot the bill. How do I know experience, darling? Experience. It's a money drain. Do not let this happen to you. It can't go both ways. You need to take care of you, not the leeches in your life. Protect yourself now before it's too late. Your parents didn't retire. They quit their jobs. A retiree is a person who has enough income from passive sources to be able to pay their expenses. Your parents never had enough investments to create income to cover decades of expenses. They spent all their money on college and whatever else, and also still had high expenses mortgage. At a rough estimate, you supporting your parents financially for the last 8 years has probably paid them back for all of their college support. Rough numbers, 8 2K thy 12 a 192 key. You're never going to get any money from the house. Your parents will eventually sell it to help cover their expenses in their elder years. The money will get spent. Stop giving your parents any money. Invest in your own name future.